but games are, again, the substrate. And what we did was we took all those, we replicated those studies. We had people play games and do the studies at the same time. So the way these neuroscience studies work is you do a task. Let's say for the sake of the live stream, the alternative use task. Here's a shoe. What would you guys do with it? And I want to hear both Greg and Paul. Quickly, what would you do with a shoe? What kind of things would you do with a shoe? Besides wearing it foot. Go ahead. Quick.
Drink out of it.
Yeah, there you go. Drink out of it. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I squash bugs with it all the time.
Yeah, squash a bug with it.
There you
go. Hit your little brother with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Open a wine bottle, right? So that's the alternative use task. So these are all neuroscience studies that are very validated. And so what you do is you do pre-activities to see where somebody is, and then you have them do the task, and then you do post-activities to see where they are. And that's kind of that's the way this research is structured. We did the same thing with the research, and then we just had people play some games in between. So then we were able to model the behavior of the mind as it relates to the task itself. There's another one which actually I think is really fascinating, which is called the trail making task. And our friend here, who's a researcher of neuroscience, plasticity, and regenerative therapies, would probably know this. The trail making task, is basically a flat piece of paper. You have circles on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're supposed to trace those circles. Sometimes you have 1A, 2B, 3C, blah blah blah. And it's a flat piece of paper, and you're just trying to trace. But maybe the 1 and the A and the 2 and the B are in different places. So you're trying to match them as quickly as possible. My wife, as a neurologist, uses that to check for early onset dementia. Okay, maybe that works. I don't know. But also, the Air Force Academy uses it to figure out who could be a good fighter pilot. That got me really going on this vector of this company, because I'm like, that's a flat piece of paper, and you're trying to ask a future pilot whether this is, the future of how they're going to perform in a spatial environment. So before I even started Skillprint as a company, we created a mobile AR app, alternative augmented reality app on the iPhone, where you could look through the iPhone, and all of a sudden these bubbles would pop up, and you'd have to kind of connect the dots using spatial reality. And number one, it was super engaging for people because it was a lot of fun just to zoom around. Number two, the kind of data we generated was stunning. And when I went to some of these labs and showed them the data, it was unbelievable, because you added on another layer of kind of data in terms of reality to understand the mind. So that is sort of kind of the point of what we're trying to do, which is add dimensions of data around how people act to understand the mind. Games is the thing we've done very well. Yeah. And that's just the first stuff.
Amazing. It's endlessly fast. Okay, let's get some of the more tactical stuff.
Paul to react. Paul,
okay.
Paul, tell me what you think.
It's crazy. It's awesome. What is kind of your end goal here is modeling out reality and just putting people in the middle of it and just measure all of the inputs and outputs, kind of the ultimate goal here?
I mean, my personal goal, or what do you think is?
It could be. It seems like it's also a personal goal, right? You've been doing this for a real long time, right? Your company is just an extension of that. What is it you're trying to understand about human behavior?
I mean, I think the ultimate goal is I want people to understand themselves and get self-awareness. I mean, there is a philosophical goal here, which is self-awareness, leads to self-realization, and that is the only real purpose of life. That is my philosophical point of view. What else matters except you really get in sync with the universe? The only way you can get in sync with the universe is if you really understand yourself, right, first, and then you start to get in sync more and more. So yeah, maybe that is the ultimate goal. Nice, Paul. That's a good question. Now I'm going to go on a retreat for 5 days and think about that. Thanks.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
That's good. Amazing therapy session. That's great.
All right. So so I want to make sure we get to talk about partnerships.
Yeah.
Because you're doing stuff with esports companies, and the people that are listening too might be interested in working with you guys, like looking into the developer platform. So we'll make sure we touched on those two points.
Yeah, I mean, the issue these days is you'd want this to be far and wide as possible, right? If we've built this technology, it can actually do a good assessment of who you are, but it has to be done in a positive way, and it has to be done in a way where you want it to be done. The issue is that these days it's hard to get consumer adoption without a ton of money or a ton of sort of, I'd say, unethical practices, which is not something that I'm into. So how do you get it done in a way where it spreads so that you can kind of get the data that the platform needs, but also help a bunch of people in the ecosystem, which can also be companies, it can also be stakeholders, etc. And it's amazing how we found that how amenable a bunch of companies are around this stuff, because I think they, like, if you have a bunch of users or employees, you do care about their well-being, their mental well-being, their emotional well-being. You care about how they can grow for whatever reason. I mean, maybe it helps the company performance, maybe it helps your users performance, maybe it helps engagement, maybe it helps you get more data that's interesting, but that is an effective way to get distribution for us.